We are joined right now by U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, and I want to go right to Coach Tuberville. And, Coach, I wanted to ask you this, because we've talked a lot about it, everybody's talking a lot about the general election, but one thing I always remind people across the country, and it really doesn't matter if you're in a red state or a blue state, a purple state, because we've got Senate races that are so important to the outcome of the control of the U.S. Senate. And I know that you've been working very hard across the country as well, because we can elect a Republican president, that everybody would be excited about that, electing President Trump, next week. But if we don't have a Republican Senate, there's going to be serious problems for President Trump and getting through any of the nominees, as well as the legislative priorities that the reason why we want him back in office.
Well, you're exactly right. And again, thanks for having me on. The problem that President Trump will have when he gets elected, if we don't get the House and the Senate, they're going to spend most of the next year trying to impeach him. You heard Jamie Raskin, Democrat congressman, basically say about a month ago that there's no way we're going to allow this guy to take over as president of the United States. So, the Democrats have ruined about everything they've touched. You just talking and about the election process. They have absolutely destroyed our election process. It should be one-day voting, absentee ballots, and paper ballots, voter ID, but they don't want anything to do that. They want to manipulate everything, and that's the reason they can't allow President Trump to get in, because he knows a lot of them are going to really suffer the consequences when he gets elected.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Tuberville, we have a situation we're filing it in Pennsylvania right now, along with the RNC, and in the ACLJ filing, and the case is about, in Pennsylvania you can file your mail-in ballot, and then at the same time the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, which is different than the law there, that if you think for some reason that you might have messed up when you filed that ballot, you can go and cast a ballot on Election Day as well. So you see how that immediately causes a disaster for Election Day, the vote counting and the election workers, because now somebody who had one ballot in has now got two, and which one is the first one wrong or not? Which one counts? What do you do in that situation? And it's like these courts are doing this on purpose, days before an election. Now, I know you're heading to Ohio, which is a key state, not just for the presidential race, but the Senate race there as well. You talk about, again, the House, the Senate, this idea. In my opinion, Coach Tuberville, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well. If again, we don't have control of the House and the Senate, and President Trump is elected, I think it's going to be a very dangerous time and tough, difficult time in the country, even between next Tuesday and when he takes the oath of office, and getting him to that point of taking the oath of office without delays, because it appears that the Democrats have at least told us they've got a number of strategies to try and hamper and kind of slow down, drag out, even if President Trump wins.
Well, you're exactly right, and that's right up their game plan. Their game plan has been for years to manipulate the voting system to where they can create controversy. As you just said, Pennsylvania, there's voting machines in Georgia that President Trump, you push his selection and it goes to Kamala Harris. I mean, they've done the same thing to our country. Now, they did this to voting because they want to remain in power. They want to do everything they possibly can. I've seen all the data from 2020. President Trump was he was up 200,000 or 300,000 votes in almost all swing states. And for some reason, they shut the counting down, sent everybody home. And the next morning, President Trump is behind. Now, it is, again, controversial. The thing we need to do is have a holiday for Election Day. You go vote. Let everybody just relax and do it the right way. Absentee ballot would be fine, but this ballot harvesting and all this stuff, it all creates a controversy, as you just said, of who wins. If President Trump does win, man, they're going to throw a wrench in the system, say there's no way, we're going to send this guy to jail. We're not going to certify his election. It's a disaster, and it's all because of the Democrats. All we wanted in the Senate now was the SAVE Act the last 3 months, saying, listen, let's do the SAVE Act. That way everybody knows that if you vote and you're an illegal, you go to jail. We have a fair election, and whoever wins, wins. And we go along the next 4 years, and we have another one. But there's no way that these Democrats want a fair election. They want the illegals to vote. In my state of Alabama right now, we're being overrun by Haitians. It is absolutely ridiculous what's going on, ruining our education system, our hospitalization. And, we love people. But let me tell you, American taxpayers can't afford what's going on right now.
Coach Tuberville, this is Jordan's producer, Will. And first of all, I do want to thank you for 4 great years as an undergrad at Auburn, where being on the plains on a Saturday in the fall was probably the best place in America to be. But we have a vice presidential nominee right now that is trying to connect with the American people through his experience as a high school football coach. But we're seeing him use odd language like AOC runs a mean pick 6 and huddle up, we're in the final quarter. Is his ploy of trying to be relatable backfiring?
I don't know where they got this guy from, what rock they got him out from underneath there. I tell you, they have so many options that they could have done so much better than this clown. But, he's calls himself a coach. He's putting tampons in the elementary schools and high schools for men's restrooms. You got to be kidding me. I mean, for the last four years, I've sat back and listened to these people think and tell people that men can have babies. That just tells you how crazy these people are and how much they want to brainwash the American people. But, Tim Walz he's not qualified to be anything, especially a football coach. And that's much more, to me, much more of a requirement to be qualified than Vice President of the United States, because they don't do anything anyway.
I mean, I think that's interesting because he came out strong, and then he's kind of been, like you said, he's kind of been hidden under a rock since he's been introduced, and you don't see him too much out on the campaign trail. But this idea, again, I think that if it's the final message that kind of kicked everybody into gear, Coach Tuberville, and we're talking to U.S. Senator Tuberville from Alabama, is the idea, again, this garbage comment from President Biden that sits out there. There's this whole this whole fight between the White House stenographers and the National Archives because they try to put like an apostrophe somewhere to try to change the meaning of the sentence. The idea is we all know, and I think you can speak to this too, that is how they feel about most of us. I mean, they may not feel about some of the moderates who like to play games with them and love to make deals with them, but for most of us on the right side of politics in America, they do think we're a bunch of garbage. And that's exactly why they would, even if President Trump's elected Tuesday, with all of this mess and with all the numbers floating around, all the different ballot issues, that they will do anything possible to prevent us from having control and getting our legislative priorities through, because they actually believe that about us and not just the elected officials, but the people who are voting for you.
Yeah, our country's in serious trouble, and President Trump's going to have his hands full, and thank God he's got a team of people like Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr. and people that are really, really smart, that love this country. Now, something's going on right here, and I don't know what it is. Kamala Harris is out there with 50, 60,000 people on the mall in Washington, D.C. Now, in D.C., a Democrat can get 100,000, 150,000, because that's all that lives up there. Right. It's 95% Democrats. But it's kind of suspicious that Jill Biden and Joe Biden go in there and say, somebody open a laptop up and get me on Zoom. I want to make a statement. Yeah. During her speech, and he gets on there and calls Trump supporters garbage. And he well knows what he's doing. Now, he doesn't have both oars in the water, but he well knows what he's doing, because he did not want to leave that office, and he was forced out. And I'm not so sure who he voted for when he voted for last week, but that was all by design. And I'm going to tell you, these people have no plan whatsoever for our country. All their plan is to turn us into globalist, socialist, and make the American taxpayers pay for everything and put us under. And that's the direction that we're headed if we elect these two people that they've got up for president and vice president next week.
Coach, I know that, again, you've brought up some of the issues with voting, but one thing I wanted to make clear to everybody listening to our show and watching our show throughout the week and the weeks that we've been leading up to this with early voting is as of right now, take advantage of the laws in your state, know the laws in your state. So whether it's election day voting or early voting in person, or if you had to do absentee for some reason. But I told them, I said, we will all work on all of the issues surrounding the voting, whether it's legal challenges we've got to file. We got about a minute left here, though. I think just hearing from you directly about how important it is for everybody here listening and to get their friends and family out as well to vote, whether that's through some early process or on Election Day Tuesday.
Yeah, we've done a much better job other than 2020. Laura Trump's been in charge of it. She has got groundswell of lawyers, people in places in the swing states. We've done our due diligence. Again, you can't. We're not going to allow them to shut the polls down. We're not going to allow them to count votes without the Republicans there. They're not going to be able to do what they did last time. So hopefully we get a good, fair counting. If we do, President Trump will win. We'll win the House and the Senate. And American people want to take their country back. So I'm looking forward to a great day on Tuesday. I'll be with President Trump Tuesday night, and maybe we'll have a great celebration.
Sounds good. Coach Tuberville, as always, we appreciate you joining the broadcast. We appreciate everything you're doing for our country as a leader from Alabama, a national leader as well.